Boom! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Samuel Davis III of Bridge Visions, and we are here today with our next episode. We have an interesting subject that we would like to talk about today, and I'm going to bring in my partners in crime here as we all come in here, and we're going to talk about a subject that I think is near and possibly dear to all of us. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. The subject that we're going to talk about today, today's topic is religion. Now, I'm going to jump into the solo layout here real quick because I'm going to show this topic and I'll have a scroll across the bottom of the screen and give my partners here a chance to read what I've written as far as how they want to attack this subject, because I had a couple of questions that I want to ask, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. And I'll start off with myself answering them in my own way. We are starting off today's subject is religion. Do you really believe in it? Is it necessary? What has it done for you? Do you apply religion in your life? Is it a tool? How old were you when you came to acknowledge the power of religion for yourself? Are there any religions that you do not care for, and why? And why do some believers feel that their religion is the only true religion? So with that being said, I'm going to start out with myself in this. And we have talked about this subject maybe once or twice throughout various subjects and topics that we've been in. And this subject has been near and dear to me because I'm in the middle of a change right now in my life. I'm in the middle of a change in my religion that I was actually raised up in, and I'm now converting to something else that I feel is much more vital and much more important for me and what I'm planning on doing in my life right now. Um, I have more recently begun studying the Baha'i faith. Being that I was raised as a Christian, it has been something for me. The frustration, what I've been encountering more recently with the Christian religion, in particular, with how it has gotten to the point where they now call things the religious right, and white nationalism has taken over evangelicals in the Christian world, at least in my eyes. And I've gotten a little, I don't know what the word is. I got a little angry with the way things have, and I don't need to be in an angry position with this religion right here. Excuse me, I got something on my lip that I'm gonna get. But anyway, with that being said, going back with the question that I had in mind was what has religion done for me? And the reason why I can say that religion has done something for me is because I'm switching religions. I would not have known it if I had not have I had a vested interest in religion and what it can do and offer for me. Some people sometimes that I know use religion as a tool. And I'll say that in the way that the political arena is right now, particularly here in the United States, it's a tool. They use Christianity to get over their political agendas like a fish to water. And I can honestly say that my brother, my mother, my brothers, they have taken that they've taken that direction with the as far as I'm concerned with the religious aspect of it. It's been a hurting thing for me because I love my family, but I seem like I have had to draw a line somewhere in how we relate and in our relationship. And when it gets to that point, I just have to respect their peace and their walk and their religion, as they're gonna have to do mine. And we do not talk at this time because of a lot of religious things and some other things as well, that we can talk about as another subject. But I thought that it would be something that important that we all discuss, because I just kind of like to what I would like to know what everyone else's faith is, what brought them to that faith, and how do they apply it to their lives? How Baha'i has helped me in my more recent years in my life. It has actually helped me communicate with my neighbors and other individuals that I run into out in the streets. I get so excited because there was a point in time as a Christian, it was the thing to go out there and go tell it on a mountain, over the hills and dales, and tell everybody about what Jesus Christ has done for me. And I had to go out and go tell everybody about what he's done and how good he's been for me and how he died on the cross for you. And man, with Baha'i, it's nothing like that. They don't even have church. They don't even have church meetings. We get together on weekends on a weekday and have discussions on things that are really important to me, like communicating with my next door neighbors. My wife and I currently are working uh, with a political candidate here in our city, and how can I go about in my city and discuss things about politics with others and bring about conversations with religion and things if I can't even talk about these things with my next door neighbor? But I can run in the street and tell everybody, hey, vote for this guy, hey, vote for this guy. If I can't taper my story down, if I can't get out of my head and open myself up and talk to others, how can I represent Baha'i? How can I represent what is changing me right now? How can I talk to other individuals? So this is what I wanted to open up that conversation and topic to my fellow brethren here. I'm going to bring them on right now and get them into this arena here. We have Benji, we have Gordon, and we have and Robin here. So I hope that was enough of an introduction so I can get us going. And what I would like to do is I would like to start this off with my fellow Baha'i brother, Gordon. And if you could tell me what you get from what I said, what you see for our topic that we started today, and give me your opinion.
Mm. Yeah. So thank you, Sam. Great topic. Religion's always a controversial topic, I guess you could say, right? And so I think what it sounded to me like you were saying is one of the things that is, for me, as I practice the Baha'i faith, it's one of the most important things to me, and that's the emphasis within the faith of independent investigation of truth. And so you had mentioned that we don't have church, and so uh, the Baha'i faith doesn't have clergy or church. It is strongly again emphasized that each one in the faith, every whether you're practicing, whether you're deciding to become a Baha'i, if that's what you want to call it. I always say I'm practicing because I'm still working on myself and I'm still trying to get better at it. But there's no priests, there's no rabbi, there's no fathers, there's none of that are reading, scripture writings and then interpreting it for you, kind of telling you how you should live. Each Baha'i is encouraged to read as much as they can and study as much as they can, and then determine what they've read, or what the meaning is of what they've read, and then live that life to the best of their ability, right? And so, for example, you could have two people practicing the Baha'i faith that read, for example, the same paragraph in the same book, and still come up with a different meaning for each of themselves, and neither one is elevated above the other, so neither one can tell the other one, no, it means this, or no, it means that. And so that was something that was just a big part of me deciding to continue my practice in this faith when I was younger. um, that ability to read and study and interpret for myself what I believe is the way to live, I guess, based on what I read and what I study and all of that. And so that's something that was a huge deciding factor for me to decide to continue being a part of this faith.
Well, let me ask you this: if you weren't a Baha'i, what would you be doing, and how has Baha'i helped you right now? How has Baha'i helped make Gordon Chavez who Gordon is?
Hmm. That's a great question. And I've thought about that a lot because I'm actually fourth generation Baha'i, and the Baha'i faith's not that old, but it does go back. My mom was Baha'i, my grandmother on her side, or actually both of my grandparents on her side were Baha'i, and my great grandmother was the first one to start practicing the faith. And then and the one of the things about the Baha'i faith is that when you turn 15, it's considered the age of maturity where you're encouraged to go out and learn about other faiths, other religions, whatever, or other paths in general. It doesn't even have to be religion, and study as much as you can, and at that age decide if, or even not decide, just maybe take a break or whatever, but to decide the path that you want to go on. And so when I was 15, I did look at other faiths, and I have thought about, like, what if I had never heard of the faith? What if I wasn't born into it? I don't know that I'd be religious at all. I'd almost be. I feel like I'd almost be a little anti-religious, unfortunately. But I think that what the Baha'i faith has taught me is that, at least the way that I see it, is that religion is not what's flawed. People, humanity is flawed, right? And
There you
so
go. There you
when
go.
somebody does something, at least I believe, when somebody does something negative in the name of religion, it's not the religion that is flawed. It is that person that maybe, whatever the case, whatever their reason was for doing what they did, unfortunately, they did in the name of religion. But um, that's the way I see it. We don't necessarily, the Baha'i faith doesn't say any other religion is wrong necessarily, at least the main global religions. Um, we just say that there's an idea called progressive revelation, where we believe that there's only one God, and He has sent us multiple messengers over time with a message that has also evolved over time due to humanity's ability to better understand more advanced messages. And so we believe in Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Zoroaster, even way as far back as like Abraham. And it's just, the only difference is that each one had its time, and each one brought the message from God, and say, I guess, more evolved version of it. um, Similar to a kid in grade school, when they're in kindergarten, they might be learning shapes, the alphabet, numbers, maybe some simple mathematics and things like that. And then they go through first grade, second grade, third grade. And then, in high school, they're doing calculus and physics and whatever. And so even though the teacher changes, the curriculum is still the same curriculum. It's just evolving as the kid is able to understand a more complex message, I guess.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Here's something that I remember, and I always remembered when I heard about when I heard about religion. It's not, as you mentioned, as a religion. It's like, as you mentioned, the Baha'is. They believe in all the prophets. They believe in Jesus, Buddha, and things like that. And the thing that I've always thought about and is always stuck with my mind, it's not Jesus, Buddha, or them. It is the followers after that. Like you mentioned, those are the ones that start cutting up. It's that guy gets a little bit of power, and all of a sudden he starts tripping out and starts saying, "I need you guys to start sending me 10% of your money, or 15%, or we're gonna do this. We need to build this." And that aspect right now has probably been one of the main things that has probably turned me off from the Christian aspect of it, because some of the people that I've seen have done and said some things, and it's not necessarily where I felt like you're giving back to the original purpose of what these prophets or whatever the religion was. Because it seems to me a religion is something that helps people do things. It helps you and empowers the people. So that's kind of where I feel of what a religion is, and it shouldn't be something where you got to dig deep in your pockets to prove who you are, or to help don't get me wrong, I think that finances are great to help further the cause for whatever it is you believe in, but it has always just rubbed me wrong. It's always the followers of that always seem to throwing me off in a little bit. Next up, I'd like to bring in Robin because I'm sure he's got an opinion on how things go and how this thing works. And I'd like to know your opinion on the subject at hand.
Well, it's interesting listening to what people have been saying so far. Um, but here's the interesting thing that kind of stood out based on what you folks have been saying is that it's not the religion itself, but the people. There's nothing inherently wrong with the religion. There's something wrong with the people and how they apply it. But that's pretty much like saying guns don't kill people, people kill people. Um, you know, people made the guns and then they use it. They make the guns. There's no other purpose for, like, I got a Glock over here. There's only one purpose for that thing is to fucking kill somebody. I mean, it's just, and, somebody made it and I paid for it. Um, and religion is made by people as well. I mean, there's all these different religions, and we talk about religion like somehow we didn't create this, but there's all these religions out there that are now obsolete,
Mhm.
and nobody believes in them. There are no followers. There's no followers of Zeus. Outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's no followers of Thor. There's no followers of Poseidon, and there are religions that have just gone by the wayside. Like, you sit there and they're all valid. And I was like, well, how come nobody's worshiping these guys anymore? And so this is a human construct, and we've decided that we're going to follow a particular faith. And one of the things that a faith, by the very virtue of the definition of that term, faith,
Yep.
is that you have to set aside reason for a while and just believe in something that you cannot see and that you cannot prove.
Yep.
That's the whole point of it. That's integral to almost all religions, except for shamanism and pantheism, where they say, "Well, we don't give a shit if you believe in us. That doesn't matter, right? Right?" And and of course, those religions are dying out, right? So there's a sense where you have to set aside reason and logic and decide that you're going to take a leap of faith. Then that's why it's called faith.
That's right.
So the bottom line of it is that when we talk about people doing the wrong thing or the followers, right? The followers are perverting the word or whatever. Is that good people are always going to do good things, and bad people are going to do bad things. But if you want good people to do bad things, you got to have them set aside reason, and that's where the religion comes in.
You know what, Shin? You never fail to never fail to throw me off on anything. You always come back with something awesome. So I had a couple of questions, and I want you to kind of follow up with me on that because you kind of went faith versus religion, and I think there's a difference between the two. Faith is something that I got to believe in something in a certain way that's going to inspire me to think. Religion is what you call these different modalities. Muslim, Christian. So I will put religion as far as names of these things that inspire people to have faith for, and religion. That's why I put them. So what my question was, I wrote down here. You said religion is made by people. So what about, how do you feel about the men that were inspired by these people? How do you feel about those individuals, as in the prophets? How do you feel about that? And can you kind of
Well, I've been inspired to write a whole bunch of stories, right? And in the stories, I write fantasy stories, for little kids, with elves and dragons and and I got talking horses, right, in my story. And if you got a talking snake, you made that story. right? And I'm not, and I don't expect anyone to believe my stories. You can read my stories as entertainment, and by the way, they're children's stories, so there's a moral to every story, right? Little Johnny needs to stop being an asshole, and otherwise he's going to get in trouble with the big bad wolf, and that kind of thing, right? Now, if you guys in religion where these guys all want to argue about whose imaginary friend is the right one, um, that's you just these are just grown up fantasy stories. And if they help keep you on the track for some kind of they provide some kind of a moral stand, then that's fine. If that's how you use it. Um, I don't I don't need an imaginary sky daddy to tell me not to be an asshole. Um, I, I don't think any of you need it. But if you find that it helps you, and like I don't need a car to get to work, but it's faster if I drive. you
Right.
know and if you feel like you need some kind of religious guidance in order to engage in spiritual development, then more power to you. Let it go. But don't pretend you didn't. It's like psychology, right? These are all techniques and methods and therapies that are designed by people, and they work for some people. They don't work for Benji, according to him. He said he went to therapists and they sucked. And so, just go a different path. You go to a landmark or you go to something else.
So
But
do you consider it a tool then? Is it a tool? And is it not necessarily that it's the faith? Is it the whole machine of faith and religion? Is it a tool to get you where you want to go to, or is it something that actually truly inspires you to do other things? In your opinion?
well, faith is a tool to get you where you want to go. Religion is a tool to get your money.
Wow, really?
Well, I mean, God doesn't need my money. Shit, right? That's like some little kid comes up to you and says, "Hey, I heard it's your birthday. I saved 25 cents. Here you go." You're like, it's like taking a quarter from a child. What are you
Well,
talking about?
okay.
You know,
I,
he's
I,
all powerful, right? He's all powerful. He sees everything. He knows everything. He knows when the stock market's going to go up, right? Tell his preacher to invest. Man,
I,
come on. You think he's going to be surprised? Oh, shit. I didn't know there was going to be a downturn. Who knew? Give me a break. Go ask the talking snake in the burning bush.
Thank you for that, Robin. So listen, I'm going to bring this up to Benji now. Benji, now you heard what we've been talking about, and Robin has mentioned about you and your religion and how therapists, or I forget how you said it, Robin. But my question is to you, being that you would consider yourself a religion. My first question is, would you consider yourself a religious person? And the second question is, at what point, which is matter of fact, I'll just put the topic in here because this is probably the last question I have in there. Um, how old were you when you came to acknowledge the power of religion for yourself and you took it upon yourself to say, hey, I want to actually invest my time, not that I'm forced into it, but I want to invest my time and do this for me? when does when did it hit Benji that, you know what, I need God, I need religion, I need direction, or I need whatever? Can you go ahead and
The,
tell me that?
the moment when that wild dog picked me up, and I didn't get hurt. I got no scratch at all. The story, remember, I was in the jungle. I was trying to walk to my aunt house, and the wild dog picked me up. Nothing happened to me. The dog let go. That was it. Part of belief in the Buddhism was that if you truly believe nothing can inflict you, that mean bullet and all that. I was probably like 5 at the time, 5 or 6 at the time. That dog
Mm.
picked me up. They thought I was a goner. Nothing happened. He dropped me, and I'm back west again. Same year, I was in the jungle running around. Don't know what it was, and I almost literally just there's a train track that came across. For some reason stopped, and the train right went through me, right? So I knew that there was a spiritual part of me no matter what. And I grew up in the temple, in the Thai temple, right? Now I was born Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. Before I was in the jungle, I was in a Catholic school. So I was religious Catholic. I'm still Catholic. I'm still that way because that's part of my root system. That was part of my DNA. And but the point of all this is like part of the doctrine is, all this fear and all that. It's going to be there because man did all that. But the trueness of the teaching itself, that's love. Every true religion have love, and that's what that's for. And I connect to those things, you know. So yeah, you can like bath out everything, but every base religion that based from love is there's some validity to it, just like a rainbow. Every one of us see different color of the rainbow. So it's religion. So think of all the religion of all the rainbow. Which one fit you the best at that moment in your life? And just before this, in the beginning, you were talking about like Tony Robbins. Well, Tony Robbins is also part of that rainbow. At that moment in my life, that rainbow fit me. That color fit me. Now it doesn't. So same thing with you, Samuel. But I totally agree with you about all this. You gotta do all this. What do you call it? Tidying, the 10% thing, whatever. I don't do that. But if they ask me for $1,000, I'll give it to them because and the reason I know this because they asked me they need some kind of like some kind of a projector or something from one of the church that my friends on. It's like they need like 3,000. I said, well, I'll give you 1,000. That's a thing for me to do. Now, and I agree. It's like yeah, but some of these things like that, the doctrine like the Baptists have, dancing and all this. I'm like, you know what? I don't think God cares about all that stuff, man. It's like they got to do with all that. That's a man thing, right? That is a control thing. So, but are you willing to risk all to gain all? That means if there's a nugget in that religion, are you willing to take it? I did. I made that choice. So because I want that nugget. Like anything else, if it's worth it for you, you're gonna go for it. So if I have to go through the pain, I will. You know, and this is the same thing. The physical pain that we go through during the training to get stronger and get all in shape. We've done all that. That's what we do, right? So if you want to be complete and whole, then that's what you do. It's your choice, right? Now, this particular thing that you're going through, perfect. You find another color in the rainbow that you enjoy more at this moment. It's perfect. But there's nothing wrong with the other rainbow just because we don't connect to that anymore. It's okay. For example, my favorite color is always going to be like green because I was born in May, right? But now I like blue, right? Because I've changed a little bit, right? So in my younger day, I loved to drink like wine. Now I'm a Scotch drinker. I drink whiskey, right? So I mean, it changes, right? For me, wine is too sweet now, right? Things like that. It's just part of things, right? You know, and those that's just mean that you're growing. That's all it is to it, right? And that's a good thing. And I think I agree with Gordon. It's kind of like graduating to the next class. It's no good
Mm,
different. It's just you go to the next class. We'll join you there soon.
mm.
That's really all it comes down to. But
Well,
when
let me. Sorry, I hate to interrupt you
no,
because you have different religions that
mhm,
you're one of the you're one of the who seems like you've got a lot of different religions and you put a lot of invest a lot of time in them.
mhm,
So my question would be to you is when you made your jump from Catholicism or from the Buddhist temple to
mhm,
Catholicism,
mhm.
do you still call upon your Buddhist or your temple
Yeah,
backgrounds, and
yes.
do you have a I mean, because there's so many different religions, do you
Mhm.
have a problem or an issue with a certain religion at all that you've encountered in the past? Like, personally, I'm not necessarily into Satanism, but some
Mhm.
people that is a true religion for them and they believe it wholeheartedly. Do you have any type of religion that you would not be interested in?
As long as not if the basis is hate, then that's not religion. That's just hate, right? If a base is love, then I'm like whatever your stroke is. One of the great books I read was by a priest, a Vietnamese priest called Thich Nhat Hanh. He wrote "Living Buddha, Living Christ." It
Mm-hmm.
gave you a context that it is kind of like for me normal to be able to be living in both religion, because each religion is part of your root system of your tree of life, you know.
Mm.
But you don't have to choose to feed that root if it doesn't fit you at the moment. Now, what I gravitate to during my lifetime was I went through other teaching. For me, it's always going to be like Taoism. That is like my jam. I love Taoism. I went through Zen as well too. But ultimately, though, when things get tough, my friend always says to me, "Just ask God," and she's always said to me, "Just say thank you, Jesus." And I say thank you, Jesus, to this day. I wear a cross, and I have this little thing that she gave me. Have faith. So the religion I go to helped me strengthen my faith and help me connect with my divinity, right? Whatever it takes. I don't care who the messenger is. I don't care if it's a homeless man outside. If it allow me to connect to my divinity, I will, right? This is the reason I don't care if is that Billy Graham or Joe Osteen or Pat Robertson. I don't care. As long as a message delivered to me that I can understand, I don't care who it is coming from. Because what I want to be able to is consistently stay connected to my divinity. When I was younger, that was easier. I didn't have all this fog and clouded and society and all that stuff, right? Now the antenna's a little off. Whatever it takes to tune my antenna back on, I'm good with it, man. So that divinity allowed me to live a very fulfilled life and live a full life and be an added value to my world and the rest of the world. That's the reason I can do what I do, because of that reason. And so, yeah, but the thing about like the religion that like about this is the only one, and it's about if one of my disappointment was the thing was like I think back just before 9/11 or around 9/11. 9/11 broke me in every sense of the word. I couldn't imagine a human being doing something like that.
Mm.
So I had to go to church just to heal that.
Mm.
But one other thing that I remember after that was in one of the Muslim countries, they found a statue of Buddha that was in the country. So Buddha was there in the country. Instead of like instead of like taking the Buddha statue and giving to the museum, they blew up the Buddha statue. I
Mm.
was like, are you serious? It's a beautiful artwork and you blew it up. And it's part of the culture, right? Yeah, it's real scary, right? And so even if you go way back in the Buddhism day, you know that what's that Nazi sign, that cross, that sign? Buddha has that. In the old teaching, that symbol was in the Buddha somewhere. So I mean, you can't just something's connected, somewhere along the way connected. But I agree with Gordon completely. Every master are here to teach us
No,
at a
I'm so
different time,
sorry.
and whatever lesson we need to pick, be ready for.
Oh
As
yeah,
long, as long
because
as you connect to
it's
that
the
love,
other
then you're good
email
to go.
address.
That's my opinion.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I
No,
appreciate it.
it's
So I
yours.
want to bring this next question to Gordon. I want to ask this to you because you've been in the faith for I don't know how many years have you been in the Baha'i faith?
Basically, my whole life.
Mm. So with that being said, was there ever a period of time when you actually saw other religions and from your point of view and said, "Ooh, wow, that's something I definitely would not be interested in," or have you ever looked? I'm not gonna say look down upon because as I know you and who you are, I know you're not a person that actually points fingers and says I don't like this or I don't like that. I know that's not in you. But have you ever I think we talked about this one time. It's about I'm not gonna say backslidden from the Baha'i faith, but you weren't necessarily fully into it at one point. And when you were in that time period, did you ever consider another religion? Did you ever think about, what, since I'm kind of a free spirit right now or a free agent, maybe I'll try this. Maybe I'll get into Catholicism. Maybe I'll get. Did that ever come across your mind?
No, not really. I mean, when I was really young, I went to catechism, because on my dad's side of the family, Catholicism is the faith that is followed, I guess, if you want to call it that. And so when I was really young, I went to catechism and did that for some years, and then my parents divorced, and my brothers and I lived with my mom for the majority of that time, so then that's where we practice the faith. But there have been times where I've been kind of, um, I guess, where just life kind of has taken over. Probably in my early 20s, um, I guess you could say that I kind of strayed from the faith. I wasn't practicing as regularly, and then I was doing things that are not necessarily accepted by the faith, I guess you could say, or not, or I don't know what the right word would be, but it's not, you're not following the rules. Where things like living with my girlfriend, who now is my wife, having children out of wedlock and things like that. And I don't say that because I was, I wasn't like acting wild. I was just, life was taking over. I was working two jobs at the time, and that was my life at that time. And there, at that point, I guess I wasn't finding, I guess, what I felt I was needing in the faith, and so I wasn't practicing as much. And then as I came back to the faith, with a girlfriend and a child and no marriage and all of that, and was fully embraced and no judgment and all of that. I think that's where it was kind of like, what, for me, it's not so much, I guess, not so much a religion. For me, it's more the people that I surround myself with. And so I feel like, even though I'm not the most social person, I'm not comfortable in settings like big parties and things like that. But I do enjoy, you know, being around people of quality, high caliber people, at least from what my standards are, I guess. And so when there's no judgment, when there's love and accepting and things like that, regardless of flaws and all of that, kind of like you accept you as is. To me, that's a strong thing. And so, I had my oldest son. My wife and I had our oldest son when I was, what, 23. And so a couple years prior to that, I is when I kind of strayed from the faith. Then I met my wife, and then a couple years later we had a son, and then a few years later, it wasn't until my son was like in kindergarten and first grade was when I started getting more active, and I started deciding that, what, if he's gonna have a bright future, then I gotta do something here in our home that is going to contribute to him having a positive future. And so that's when we started having, children's spiritual virtues classes at our house on the weekends. We had a community garden for all the 6, 7 year olds in our neighborhood. And so that's what got me more active. It was more about my family than saying I need to be part of a religion or anything like that. And it just happened to be that, our core beliefs were aligned. And so it was a perfect fit for me. If that, hopefully that answers your question.
No, that answered my question. My main concern was how you applied it in its own way to yourself and where you're at in your mindset. Speaking of that, I have to go back to you, Robin, because my thought is how, or do you, or have you taken religion and applied it in your life? I mean, I understand the faith. You said you got to have faith to get to work in a car, or ha- have you taken a religious tenets, any tenets of a religion, and apply them to your life and in your walk? And would you really consider yourself a religious person?
No, not really. Um, you know, like I said, I can get to work without the car. It's just faster with a car. It's not about faith, you know. Um, again, you have to sit there and say, what is it? Like, like we haven't answered this question at all. What is a religion? Like, what does that mean if you're a religious person? Does that mean that you believe in something for which there is no proof, and thus you have a faith, all right? Or do you have an ideology and a you have a, yeah, basically an ideology, a way of a philosophy of life, like how you want to run your life. Like, I want to be honest in my business transactions, and I don't want to be a liar and a thief, right? I mean, you need God to tell you that. Uh, if you do, then let's hope you pick a religion where God will tell you that, because you need it. You know, um, I don't think any of you gentlemen actually need that.
Hmm.
You need somebody to tell you to do that shit or not to do that. You know when you're doing something wrong. Um, if you're sabotaging yourself or hurting somebody else. And then when you ask me a question like, do I have anything that helps me guide? I don't. I have philosophical ideologies that I subscribe to that occasionally will help me make decisions in my life. I mean, basically, that's what this boils down to. You're going through life, and then you have a decision in front of you, and then you have to decide for yourself: is this a moral and ethical decision that I'm going to be making? Right. So, simple. We don't have to get crazy. Just very, very simple things, right? You're working. You leave work early. You tell the boss, "Hey, I left half hour or an hour early," and you don't charge them for the hour. Or if nobody notices and nobody sees you, and you know what, it's just an hour, but you didn't work that hour. So do you report it or not? That kind of thing. Um, so you know, if you if you find that it's easier to make the right decision because you think God is watching, then by all means keep it in mind that God is watching. Again, we're not talking about any criminals here. I think all three of you would don't need God to do that, but there are people out there who need it,
Well,
and
well,
for those people,
let
yeah,
me jump in for a second on that, and
yeah,
I want Benji to follow up on this because Benji said a dog was going to pull him away, drag him out that village, and possibly kill him. And at that young age, something hit him, and he said, "Hey, there's something bigger than me that's more powerful than that dog," and it made him stop. And there's something there. I got to tap into that source. So that's what he did. And I don't know if you want to call following it or whatever, but Benji, can you expound on what I'm saying with what based upon what Robin was saying?
Well, at that age, I was at the temple a lot, and one of the
Mm.
mantra was is like as long as you have faith in that the physical pain from a dog bite or a bullet wound won't happen if you believe that it won't happen. At the moment he bit me, I relaxed and believed that he can't hurt me, that he can't puncture my flesh, right? So that's like something that when I was like that age, because it was doctrine into me, as long as you believe that the bullet can't get through to you. At that moment, it happened to me because everybody in the village thought that dog, not just that dog, that whole pack of dog was going to kill me. It stopped and let me go. And and I told you I'm not a big person, but even then I was small. That dog was huge. It's a wild dog in the jungle. So things like that happen. And again, those are the things. And again, if I was running around in the jungle, again, I put my hand. Remember, I told you about I put my hand in the bee thing. Again, nothing happened to me. I mean, I put my whole freaking stinking hand in the beehive, not even a bite. So at that moment, my faith was so strong that it- that it's kind of like the super senses where that my body's protected, right?
Mm.
Things like that, right? You hear a story where that like if somebody was like a mom would like lift up a car to pick up a, to rescue. That's really what happens. That's what religion did for me in that part. Now, as I got older, I was struggling with like life and things like that. It helped me to center my feelings.
Thank you for that, and that's why I had to throw us right back to you, Shen.
Yeah.
Combat veteran, Kandahar, U.S. Marine, life and death situation, life and death around you. These things, I mean, I know you've seen. We haven't went in detail in conversations about what you've seen, but I know you've seen things where you got to sit back there and go, "Wow, that bullet just missed me and hit him," or whatever. Do you feel that possibly, like, I'm of the faith and belief that I make it through things because I can come out there and tell somebody else how I made it, and they can get inspired from it, and they can learn from it. Similar to Benji, the temple told him that he could be indestructible if he believed in it, and he did. And now we're sitting here today because of that faith. Do you think that anything like that, your experiences in war, your experiences for whatever, do you believe that karma or God intervened at all for you to be able to be a living example for another?
No, but I don't want to speak to it too much because I don't want to undermine Benji's experience, and I have to respect the the experience that he had, the things that he encountered, and the faith that he derived from that. Those are good things. And I'm now when things happen to me, uh, you know, gentlemen, we're all either in our 60s or close. You can't go through life for 60 goddamn years and never have some kind of near death experience where you know, when I was 17 years old, I was racing on the freeway on the interstate with my friends, and we were driving our cars at over 100 miles an hour, racing each other, weaving in and out of traffic. Now, did God make sure that I didn't kill myself or nobody else? Or did I just get lucky? Right? Now, if I said God kept me from hurting anyone or hurting myself, that's a kind of arrogance in thinking that somehow I'm fucking special and that I matter to some giant, universal concept or purpose. Gentlemen, I am not special. And I was not put on this earth for some purpose that serves my ego. And I'm not going to tell myself a story that makes me feel important, special, powerful, or anything like that. And um, so, yeah, in wartime, there are people there that I encountered on both sides of the enemy line, and I can tell you, the people on the other side were religious fanatics and had a very deep faith, and did not think that I would hurt them. They're not around anymore.
Okay, well, let me throw this at Gordon. Gordon, what do you think about what he's just said? How do you feel about what Robin has said? Comments on that, please.
Yeah, so I would say that if Benji had his experience against same as Shen, that's he's the one that decides what his experience has meant to him, right? And so as far as Shen goes, if Shen, I was actually typing it into the comment section. You say you don't feel that you're special, but I don't know you super well, and I've never met you in person, but you've already made a positive impact on my life in the short period of time that I've known you. And so to me, that's special. So, I mean, it's all perspective. It's all, everybody has a different experience. Even 200-300 people looking at the same thing from different angles are going to see it differently, right? And I think in general, we have to be very conscious of, and Shen said it earlier, and I agree 100%. You have to be very conscious of the difference between knowing and believing. There's I want to say there's like very few things we know, right? Like I would say that I know that I'm a man and I'm a human being and I'm a physical creature, but then you watch The Matrix and maybe I am, but I'm plugged into some machine somewhere and I haven't figured it out yet, right? And so we have to be just conscious that we are deciding if I have decided to practice the Baha'i faith, it is because I believe that that is what's good for me. It's for me. It's like a movement. It's a group of people that for the most part I agree with. Right. I wouldn't say I can't say that I agree with everybody 100%. Right. In any setting, but I think that I have chosen to believe that this is for me, and that's why I practice it on a daily basis. I can't say that I know that, for example, Baha'u'llah, the founder of the faith, is who he said he was. I can't tell you that I know that. I could be wrong, right? And so if I am wrong all this time, this faith has led me to do a lot of good things that I believe that I have done. And so, for example, I've been with my wife for 25, 26 years now. I believe she loves me, but can I prove that to you? I can't prove that. I can't prove it scientifically nor mathematically. And so we have to be conscious of the things that we believe and maybe the few things that we know. And I believe that there are very few things that we actually know. And so everybody's experience is how they experience it. And it's not for me to say what somebody else has gone through. And I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, Benji, I think to address that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. I think what a lot of people would call that is, in a sense, when you say the things that you know. You mentioned earlier that something that actually stood out in my mind, this idea that the Baha'i faith is actually asking you to go out and find your own truth. And I have a lot of respect for that. And that's why like I said, I don't want to say anything. I respect Benji's experience and what that means to him because that is the truth for him. But there is a difference between truth and what we call objective truth. So, you guys, every one of you have used the analogy of looking at a picture and everybody sees the same different picture. But the one thing that is objective is that there is a picture there hanging on the wall. Now, if that picture is some abstract painting and we all see something different in that picture, that's not the objective truth. The objective truth is that there is a picture and we might even agree on what color it is. But even that could be a stretch because it gets to the point where some people are colorblind and they see colors differently, right? So, yeah, the difference is that what you know and what you believe, and what you know are the objective truths, the things that everybody will agree upon, and then the things that are not objective truths are your beliefs, and that's why I said at the beginning of this conversation, it's a matter of faith, because if I can prove it, then it's not a religion. That's science, right? I can prove that if I drop a ball, it'll fall to the ground, right? I cannot prove that God is looking out for me and gives a shit about what I do. Can't prove that. That's something in which I have to maintain a certain aspect of faith, right? And I don't want to ever step on anyone's faith.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. Benji's gonna have to leave us right now. I know you're short on your time, so
Yep.
we're gonna let you go, Benji.
Yep.
And this is something we got to talk about later on too. I mean, we can go further on this, and I think we're gonna
Yeah.
call this overtime right now because we're gonna kind of continue this for a minute while you're gone. But thank you for your participation in this, Benji, and we'll catch you on the next one. Okay.
Cheers.
All right.
Yeah,
Now.
thank you, Benji.
All
Yeah.
right. So, with that being said, I just want to add on for myself. And Gordon, thank you for saying that for Robin because he's the same thing for me. He is a special friend, and we wouldn't be here talking if I didn't feel something special about him. I think that God's spirit puts things inside of each and every one of us. That's what makes us want to go out and get a girl and have sex. That's what wants to make us go out and have children. That's what makes us want to get out there and spread whatever it is that we got in us and pass that on through our progeny, through our children. that's something that we want to do, and I think that's a God-inspired thing. You can say whatever it is, but I'm looking at and I'm thinking back with Benji for that. That was an immediate thing that came up to him, and that's the subject that I'm using, the example I'm using right now. I think that God puts things in us, and I think that some people sometimes they may not see things because they don't get pulled in a jungle by a dog. You know, he might not. He Benji has went through 3 or 4 different religions, and they all helped him in certain phases of his life. I wish he was here so that we can talk about them, but there was a God something that caught him and pulled him through this problem and through this problem. And it's also one of the main reasons why we're sitting here talking today, because he wanted a space for men to talk about things like this, to spread these things on, these thoughts, and have these conversations. I'm gonna tell you right now, Robin, whether you feel it or not, you are a special person to me. You mean a lot to me. Every one of you guys here mean a lot to me, and I feel deep in my heart we all have teachers inside of us where we want to pass something on to others, and that is that God. I hate to use this term, Christ-like spirit in us, or in that makes me say, hey, I want to pass this on to the next person, that next generation, or to my children. I've mentioned this with Gordon and his son, and his sons. This is it's that drive. There's that inner something inside that makes you, like I said, that thing that makes you want to get a girl. When you see a girl, that thing that makes you want to have sex with her, when you're younger, that thing that wants to keep you going at it, that's something that's innate within us. And I think
You ain't gotta be young.
no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
What?
No.
I ain't done yet, Sam.
Well, the way you talk, it was almost sounding almost dreary because, man, listen, real talk. I love you, Robin. You've been my dude, man. I love Gordon too. You guys have given me an opportunity to have these conversations like this, because who else can I talk to about this? Who else can I talk to about, and we can talk about these different religions and these different modalities. And Benji wasn't offended by what you said, and even if you said it in a harsh way, he wouldn't have taken it that way. It's a conversation, and this is a safe space for us to have these types of conversations. We all here have something that we can offer to other individuals. Heck, look at the fact that we got a black, a Mexican American, and a Chinese American person here having conversations about these different religions. Heck, I didn't even get to talk about the gospel church and how God has done things for me today. I didn't talk about that. But there are so many different points of views that we have, and it's just amazing that we can get here at this space. And again, I'm going to say it, you mean something to me. You may not feel it to yourself, but you mean something to me, and it's big. You're a big part of my life, and what we're doing here is special. Comments on that, Gordon? Anything else you want to say to that? Anybody?
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. I really love the way the way you look at things. Even if you say you're not religious, I say I am religious, and everybody's got a different definition of the word being religious, right? It means something different to everybody. It is what it is. I have no control over that. But just the way you analyze and see things, I love that, because it's a challenge, right? Every time we have a discussion, you're like, all right, you know what? It's time to raise it up to the next notch. And you do that. I love that, because we can have easy conversations all day long, right? I mean, the weather here, I don't know what it's like in the Bay Area, but right now we're in like 90 to 100-degree weather, and we could talk about the weather and we could complain like the rest of the world does. But no, Shen's like, all right, let me turn it upside down on you guys.
Hold my beer.
Let me flip it on you guys. I love that. So I appreciate that.
What do you mean by weather?
Yeah, exactly. How are the Dodgers doing right now? I don't know.
Well, I will say this, Gordon, that one of my guiding mantras, and Sam's heard me say this before, so I apologize, Sam, if you hear me repeat myself, but one of the most important things that I try to remember in any conversation is that the conversation's at the lowest level when you're talking about people. and it's at the medium level when you're talking about events. It's not at the highest level until you're talking about ideas. And
Yes.
so when people get into conversations, they start about their childhood experiences and what they did as a child and things. That's talking about people. Even if you're talking about yourself and your own experience, you're a person. And I generally, I don't mean to be rude, but when people start telling me about it, I usually set that aside. I'm like, well, that's fascinating, but that's at the level of gossip. That's what that is. Even if I'm telling you about my own childhood story, it's still gossip. It's just, I grew up. I went to Catholic school. Not because my family was religious, but because that was a good school. But you see that information that I just gave you, as interesting as it may be, it's pretty much irrelevant, right? And it's only, I'm not going to say anything important until I start talking about ideas. As long as I'm talking about myself, it's interesting, but it's not germane.
Let me say this. This is something that I've picked up more recently, a tenet from the Baha'i faith that I've gotten lately, and it goes with along what you're saying, Robin. Gossip. Man, I used to be a gossip, smack talking dude. I used to love talking trash about other dudes. And oh man, that sucker, man, he ain't no good. He's whack. I used to love doing that. And of course, you don't do
I
it.
still
It's,
do.
it's, it's no fun. It's no fun unless the guy you're talking about or the girl you're talking about isn't there. And one thing I learned about with the Baha'i faith is character assassination is something that they do not do. And when you talk about you're taking a religion or a faith, and it's something that you decide to throw your whole essence into these things, and that's only one aspect of it, but that is one thing that's been really working with me in my spirit. Do I need to talk about somebody the way I used to talk? There are times I think when we've had a study group, and Gordon, you might be able to back me up on this. I think I came in one week and I was like, dude, I feel like I need to go and have somebody pray for me because I was talking about somebody and I felt bad about it. I genuinely felt bad, like, man, I need to go up to the what do you say, Father, forgive me for I have sinned, or whatever they do. Um,
Confession.
it is something that I try to I apply it, and that's why I asked about the application of it to your faith and how you apply it, because I take it serious. There's a certain aspect we talked about with Baha'i. They don't believe in drinking or anything that takes you out of your frame of mind, like drugs, recreational drugs, and alcohol. And man, it's been a thing for me. Like I always say when we having meetings sometimes, but it's drinking while I'm barbecuing is a big thing, especially when it's hot right now. There's nothing better than having a nice, good mix up a good margarita right now, man. Oh my goodness, man, love it when it's hot. Love it when I'm barbecuing. But that's something that the faith does not allow or does not tender for us to do, and it works on my spirit as far as being right and working that way. So, Gordon, I don't know if you can go on that any further on that where I'm at, but that's just something that I just wanted to say, and that's been on my mind.
Yeah. No, I typed in the comment section we try not to do because nobody's perfect. Everybody is on a journey. Everybody is
Hey,
trying to get better.
speak for
Everybody
yourself.
has. What's that?
So speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Me in particular, I'm on a journey. I'm on a journey. I'm trying to be better. And so I think that all of that, it's all relative, like, because, we talked about this before, Sam, and I was the same way. Like, I would like to sit there and just people watch, go to a park, and sit in front of the house and the porch, and as people, oh, look at that person, they da 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 da. Nothing like I wasn't trying to like hurt anybody. It was just funny things, like whatever. But it's something that I try not to do, and I nobody's perfect. I hate, there's plenty of Baha'is that drink. There's plenty of Baha'is that do drugs. There's plenty of Baha'is that talk behind people's backs. It's just, for me to say that so and so is like this or like that, and maybe they're wrong or they're not right or whatever. is assuming that I know everything that happened to them in their life that contributed to them deciding to what they did in that moment or whatever. Like, I have no way of knowing why anybody else chooses to do the things that they do. So why even comment on them, right? Like, I'm still trying to
Yeah.
fix myself, and that's like a full-time job plus overtime, and I'm still not getting very far, or at least as far as I'd like to.
Well, I gotta run, folks. I will say this in parting when you guys, because I'll just talk about Baha'i a little bit, and is that when you have this idea of character assassination, it's a lot easier to follow that. It's a lot easier to follow that tenet when you realize that the character that they're talking about is your own. That's getting assassinated.
There you go.
Hmm.
So and you talk about somebody, you're not hurting that person. That person's not there. I mean, you can talk bad about me all you want behind my back. That's not going to hurt me at all. But it will hurt you, right? In all kinds of subtle, devious ways. It will assassinate your character. Um, and I found that's a very powerful tenet. Anyway, folks, I got to run. I got a second meeting I got to run to, and it's been great. Well, we'll catch up to you guys later offline if you
Yes.
guys want to talk more.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. All right.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Um.
All right. Bye.
All right. Everybody. So we'll end this right here. Here we go. The last of the two. The last of two standing guys here, Gordon. I don't know what your mindset is for what we talked about, but you want to close us out on this one here with saying something?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the topic was religion, right? And so religion, from my perspective, is is a group of people, I guess, that are following a certain way of living, right? And trying to get better at it, right? Whatever it is, right? And so it's based on faith, like Shen said. It's based on faith, and faith is believing in something you can't prove. And that has been my definition of faith as long as I can remember, is believing in something that I can't prove, and it's a choice, right? And so I think that when we follow a religion or participate in a religion or practice a religion without acknowledging that we're choosing to do that, that maybe we just feel that by default that's what we're supposed to do, or that's how we were raised, or that's, my people have been doing that for so long, why would I do anything different? That's where it becomes, at least to me, a problem. You just have to be aware of why you're choosing to do these things, I guess. And that's why when you said, if I didn't know the faith, or if I wasn't a Baha'i, what would I be? And I don't think that I'd be any religion if I didn't know about the faith,
Mm.
just because I have trouble following anything, for that matter, that I don't 100% wholeheartedly believe in. And then
Mm.
again, belief being a choice. So,
Huh. Okay. All right. I hear that. There you go. Well, folks, we got another one in the can. This has been a subject about religion, and I'm sure we're going to cross it many, many times more in the future. And I believe that we will also bring it up occasionally because religion is a guiding force with me. And anything that I'm going to be a part of, I know there's going to be some religious talk in it. And my faith and my belief system that has worked for me, I have been through several life changing situations. Haven't been in war like Kandahar, like Robin has, but I've experienced some things working within the prison system and dealing with individuals who have had unstructured lives. And it was also my job to give them some structure. So it will always come up. And I do appreciate the conversation and openness, Gordon. Let's put this one in the can, and we will talk again next time. See you on the next one.
all right, Sam. Yeah, sounds good, man. Great
Uh,
session.
all right. Peace.
Peace.